My name is George Donald. I coach and facilitate small groups at the Wright Foundation, and I'm also a student in the Wright Graduate University. So I'm very pleased to be talking about this today. The Wright Graduate University is like the coolest school that I know of, so I'm thrilled to talk about it. I actually left school and went back to get my bachelor's just so I could be in this graduate program. That's how much it means to me. So today I want to convey a little bit of what is so exciting about WGU to all of you. What we're going to explore is what is emotional intelligence, what are the benefits, what's the science and research behind it, and how do we develop it. I have a limited time to share everything with you. It's over 30 years of research, and then for myself personally, I've been coaching here for 5 years, and I've seen tremendous results. Emotions help us experience life more fully, help us to be more authentic. They help us to love and lead. If we try to suppress emotions and try to hide them and numb them, then we start to limit ourselves. And, hey, thanks, Ethan. Great, this thing will help. If we try to suppress them, we're basically limiting our ability. Existentialists talk about authenticity. It's about how much we can be. Can we be more ourselves? So if I can show more of my emotions rather than suppressing them, then I'm actually being more myself. But we've grown up in a way where people think emotions are bad. We're taught on some degree that we want to suppress them. We want to drink them away, drug them, eat them, indulge in whatever soft addictions to kind of numb them out. You know, we feel embarrassed if we cry, if we rage, or if we shake with fear. And we think there's essentially something wrong with us. And this leads to unnecessarily narrowing our lives. There's a lot more available to us when we're spending our time suppressing our emotions. We don't see all the opportunities that we could be taking advantage of. When we don't know how to deal with emotions, we don't really know how to unlock the power that they have. I'm going to be getting into our in-out, up-down model. So this is actually something that Doctors Judith and Bob Wright developed. There's a ton of research behind it, but this is really the applicable part of the research. This is the model. I'm going to be coming back and forth to it several times throughout here. But before we dig into each one of these 4 parts of the in-out, up-down, I want to say a little bit about what the graduate school is and refer back to our first Idea Café, which Dr. Gordon Medlock talked about yearnings last month, and that this is yearning-based learning. So the Wright Graduate University focuses on the student rather than what is being taught. Now, of course, that's an important thing, and I want to reference one of the educational reformers that we study at the Graduate University, John Dewey. So the way that John Dewey thought education should be, in his pedagogy, he did not disregard traditional education, but rather he focused on the student's innate desire to learn in sync with what was conventional. So his issue with traditional education was that it was taught as a finished product, not including the student in the process. And the issue with that is that teaching something just to be remembered for a test did not really encourage critical thinking. And so I think that what we're doing here is really, like, John Dewey would be very happy about it. I think we're living out his vision. WGU's curriculum, we go deep into developmental psychology, Adlerian psychology, humanistic psychology, existential philosophy, and educational methodologies in neuroscience and other current research. But the point of it isn't just to learn about these things. It's actually for each student to find what's meaningful for themselves in each discipline and to learn it by applying it in their life. So a really cool example of this is I'm a student right now in the grad program. As part of that, I have to coach people using specific methodologies. I have to go out and talk to a group of people and demonstrate that I made a difference in that organization, that I made a difference to that group. So it's not just in a paper, I'm actually doing it. So that's how real life WGU is. So to build on what Dr. Gordon Medlock talked about last month, we're going to go into this model that I just showed previously. In a sense, like, what we're talking about today is so basic. At the same time, it's something that was very overlooked in our upbringing. When we dig in, you'll see a great deal of complexity in it and start to see maybe how none of us has really harnessed our emotions to the extent that we could. And we've had a lot of practice suppressing instead of a lot of practice using our emotions. So when we're looking at this, I want you to be thinking about how you could be using this even right now or in a conversation that you're going to have later today. How could you apply this to your life? Okay, so let's start with this model. It helps with emotional self-awareness, emotional self-regulation, emotional self-motivation, empathy, and in nurturing relationships. This part of it. So this is, when we're talking about it's how in touch am I with what's going on inside of myself? Am I able to identify with other people, their experiences, etc.? Taking in, can I feel things deeply? Can I make decisions guided by emotions? This is really a big one for me. I'm kind of a people pleaser historically, and so being able to pay attention to what I'm feeling informs what I think about a situation. I think a lot of times I would just agree with things, nod my head, say yes, yes, sure, 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 but it wasn't like anybody was really there. And so by learning to develop the skill of feeling my basic emotions, then that starts to let me know what I actually think about whatever the conversation is. So I can actually start showing up in a conversation. Then we're going to move to out. This is the out part. So this has to do with taking what you're feeling and giving it out to the world, to express what's really going on for you. Think about it. Do the people around you know what you're thinking? Do they know what you're feeling? Are you able to communicate what you're feeling beyond just words? So it's not, you can think about like transmitting data, but do other people really get a sense of the importance of what you're talking about? Do they know that it matters to you? When we talk about pushing out emotions using this part of the model, it's how much can you flow with your feelings? Do you allow yourself to be known and to connect with other people? I'm thinking about like somebody who may have, you have the thought that like they're a very deep thinker. They may sit alone a lot, and nobody really knows what's going on for them if they're not able to share their inner world with people. So there's that part of this model. Now I want to move to the up section. With up, this is sort of like, can you boost your emotions when you need to? You can think about just sort of the level of your emotional state at any given moment. Is it something that you can uptick? You totally can. If you start to focus on it, this thing actually has a big deal to do with intensifying life, enjoying things more. If I'm kind of numbing out, then I'm not experiencing as much. People aren't experiencing as much of me. So I can actually choose to uptick, to alert myself to what's happening. And this helps connecting more with others. And it has a lot to do, too, with recognizing more possibilities. So if I'm pushing myself up, allowing myself to experience more, then I can take in more. I can see more opportunities that I wouldn't have been seeing before. To reference back to the existential definition of authenticity, if I'm upregulating, some people might say things like, oh, it's just not my personality. Well, to be kind of alive and engaged with people around. It doesn't mean going off the handle, being like super. Actually, that's a really good thing about. I used to be very, very entertaining, but I wouldn't say that I was really there, really engaging with other people. So I could get attention, but I wasn't making contact with people. So this part of it is kind of being able to share more of what's really going on with a person. In sharing more of the emotions, that actually helps you be more authentic. I want to go into down. This does not mean suppressing your emotions. This doesn't mean suppressing your aliveness. What this means is what's your ability to soothe yourself. So, if I'm in a scary situation or something, am I able to, thank you, yes, down-regulate. Right now, down-regulate. And so there's some cool stuff behind this. So when we start getting overstimulated, literally we start to see the world around us as more negative. If you're in a meeting or something, all of a sudden your classmates or your colleagues, you could start to see them as like out to get you. Well, by being able to take a deeper breath, be like, kind to myself and self-regulate that way to down-regulate, I can actually kind of be more present to what's happening, and things that might have been neutral that I was turning to negative, now I can just see as like, oh, it's just neutral, no big deal. So it's a great way to help yourself stop freaking out. I want to underline again that it does not mean avoiding emotions, it just means tending to yourself. We're going to dig in a little bit deeper now into some of the neuroscience and childhood psychology behind this model. One person who we study, scientist, lecturer, author, and speaker Joe Dispenza. So he brings to light how thoughts create reality. He writes that paying attention, concentration, and observation is a skill, just like tennis or golf. It's something that we can improve if we keep practicing. Our consciousness is what manipulates the brain to produce the mind. Our consciousness is what produces what we're seeing, how we think about the world. So what this means is, we can get caught in a loop of what we're thinking and feeling, and then that's all of a sudden my reality. But And when we're there, we can't really think of another way to get out of that, or another way out of that moment. That's just sort of what reality is. And we can keep repeating the same actions, essentially, and creating our personality, creating the way that we understand the world. So if we want different results, we can start by noticing ourselves. So again, in these 4 points of, okay, where am I at right now in this conversation, in this meeting, whatever, by noticing my in, out, up, down, I'm already starting to shift my consciousness, and I can start to control where I want to go, how I want to see the world, and how I want to influence things. I want to refer to author and professor of psychology, Daniel Siegel. So he demonstrates that we can change our brain using our mind. Our mind is like the environment for our brain. We can change one by changing the other. He says, the mind is a self-organizing process of a complex system, a human life. Our minds organize things, and the way that organization happened was formed in early childhood. And so, as I'm going about my day, the way that I'm seeing things was created a long, long, long time ago. So we can change the structure of our brain by monitoring our mind. So I'm going to share a little clip with you, and in this, just keep in mind, like think about yourself and yourself as a child, and how you were formed this way. You can be thinking about, your grandparents, your mother, your father, and what that was like when you were a little kid. So let's go ahead and watch this little video.
And the still face experiment, what the mother did was she sits down and she's playing with her baby, who's about a year of age.
I'm like a girl. Oh.
And she gives a greeting to the baby gives a greeting back to her.
Yeah.
This baby starts pointing at different places in the world, and the mother's trying to engage her and play with her. They're working to coordinate their emotions and their intentions, what they want to do in the world. And that's really what the baby is used to. And then we ask the mother to not respond to the baby. The baby very quickly picks up on this. And then she uses all of her abilities to try and get the mother back. She smiles at the mother. She points because she's used to the mother looking where she points. The baby puts both hands up in front of her and says, "What's happening here?" She makes that screechy sound at the mother, like, come on, why aren't we doing this? Even in this 2 minutes, when they don't get the normal reaction, They react with negative emotions. They turn away. They feel the stress of it. They actually may lose control of their posture because of the stress that they're experiencing.
Okay. Okay. I'm here. And what are you doing? Oh, yes. Oh, what a big girl.
So that's got to be number, 200, 300 time of watching that, and it is still just as upsetting as it was the first time. I know I see you, you're like, oh! So, and you can see the full range of emotions there, and when I'm watching that, I'm thinking about how I was responded to as a child, and how I developed my in, out, up, down, what my normal stasis is. And so I wanted to share that, to share kind of where this comes from, and some of the research that goes into this. So John Bowlby, he was a British psychologist, psychoanalyst. He ultimately changed the way that we in the West at least raise children. It used to be that you would separate your kids from the parents. They didn't spend a lot of time there, and he saw big issues with this. He dedicated his life to researching this and ultimately changing the way that parenting happens. In her book, Hold Me Tight, Dr. Sue Johnson describes an experiment that was developed by Bowlby and his colleagues. And again, keep staying with that model. Keep staying with this and thinking about how you typically engage in a situation as I talk about the next few things here. So in this experiment, they call it the strange situation. A researcher invites a mother and a child into an unfamiliar room. After a few minutes, the mother leaves the child alone with the researcher, who tries to offer comfort if needed. 3 minutes later, the mother comes back in, and the separation and reunion are repeated once more. What they found in this study was that the kids who could calm themselves when they were left alone by the mother, when the mother came back in, they noticed, that woman is more responsive. She's warmer. She tends to them more. When there was angrier kids, they had unpredictable behavior. And sure enough, they noticed that, the moms of those kids tend to be colder, more dismissive, not really seeing the child. And so John Bowlby actually theorized that this was true for adult relationships as well. And Sue Johnson continued that research on, and we use more of that in our graduate university. But where that's leaving us now is with this in, out, up, down model. I can be noticing when I'm in a room with people, when I'm in a conversation, that, I used to engage, I used to kind of downplay myself here. I used to just not really notice what I was feeling, because that was how I learned to attach to myself in the first place. And the more that I start to shift how I attach to myself, then the more emotionally present I am, first with myself and then with other people. Even like right now as I'm talking, I'm noticing that I'm doing this. I'm like literally down-regulating, calming myself, and making contact with you. I'm literally thinking about my grandfather, who's a secure attachment figure for me, as I'm talking right now, as a way to soothe myself. So this is a sort of thing that like anybody can be doing anytime. Once we start thinking about it, we can shift how we experience ourselves and the world around us. So I want to run over the benefits quickly again of emotional intelligence, using it in your life. When you have more emotional facility available to you, you can soothe yourself in scary situations. You can cultivate more friendships with people. You're able to share more interest and amusement with other people. You can take things in more deeply, like music. You can calm your blood pressure. You can hit a reset button. If you're having a terrible day, it doesn't have to stay that way. You can notice what you're feeling. Again, it's not by suppressing it. It's by noticing it and choosing what you do with your emotions. You can reset your day. So This is just a little bit of what we get into at the Graduate University. We offer graduate level certificate degrees and programs in emergence coaching and transformational leadership. We focus in the master's program on creating a redemptive narrative. So just to kind of like run back over what we've been through today, so we went back to our childhood, how our relationship to our emotions, how our relationship to the world was formed. And then throughout the course, you're actually doing that for yourself using all of the research, all of the material. You're developing, reframing your personal story, creating the narrative that you want, and that's part of this program. And then we also have doctoral level dissertations where you develop yourself more as a scholar practitioner in the field that you're in. So, there's women who focus on what that means to be a mother, digging in at a doctoral level of that, business owners. So most of our students, all of our students have full-time careers, and they integrate their studies into their businesses. This is part of how they're demonstrating what they're learning is by affecting change in whatever organization, family system, whatever it is. So that's just a snapshot of what the Wright Graduate University is. Here's a list of references. For those of you on the webcast, I'm happy to share this PowerPoint deck with you. And I want to underline again that this is hugely important to me. I think this is learning as it should be. For me, it certainly is. I've grown, developed myself at a very, very fast rate over the past 5 years by using this curriculum, by really being able to apply what I'm learning for myself. So I want to thank you all for joining me today, learning a little bit more about the in-out, up-down model. And if you have any questions, please email me or the Wright Foundation. You can see my email there if you're online. You can contact us at thewrightfoundation.org. And I look forward to any questions, any comments that you have coming in. Thank you again. Cheers.